สวัสดีครับ BizKlasser ที่ติดตามเพจ BizKlass Your Master Class นะครับกลับมาเจอกับผมเล็กมนชัยในช่วงสถานการณ์ที่ท้าทายพอสมควรสำหรับประเทศไทยที่เราเจอกับการแพร่ระบาดของโรคโควิด -19 ทุกธุรกิจก็ได้รับผลกระทบหมดวันนี้ธุรกิจการศึกษาก็เช่นเดียวกันโรงเรียนนานาชาติเขาปรับตัวยังไงในช่วงที่สถานการณ์ยังไม่ชัดเจนแบบนี้และโรงเรียนให้ความช่วยเหลือนักเรียนในการที่จะให้เขาเข้าถึงองค์ความรู้ได้ยังไงและที่สำคัญนะครับวิธีการเรียนการสอนในยุคนี้ผู้ปกครองควรจะต้องพิจารณาอะไรกันบ้างผมก็เลยจะมาพูดคุยกับครูใหญ่นะครับของทาง Wellington College International School Bangkok อยู่ที่กรุงเทพกรีฑาที่กรุงเทพมหานครนี่แหละนะครับและดูกันหน่อยว่าที่นี่เขาคิดยังไงและเขาสอนให้เด็กคิดยังไงนะครับอยู่กับทางครูใหญ่คือมิสเตอร์คริสโตเฟอร์นิโคลส์กับสวัสดีครับ
Nice to meet you.
กับ How could the pandemic affect your work and life?
I guess it's affected us in obvious ways and not so obvious ways. So there are well at the moment this is the school summer holiday, so the school is not open. But when the school was open last term of the year, we had to work online for the whole term. Students couldn't come into the campus. That kind of thing everybody knows about. It's difficult, but teachers work very hard with online learning. Students work very hard. Parents work very, very hard with online learning, and it works okay. One of the hidden problems with the pandemic, as far as international schools are concerned, is many of our teachers haven't been back home to the UK for 3 years to see their family, to see their friends, brothers and sisters, parents and so forth. And during the last year and a half, some of those people that they know well, family members, have had COVID, have died from COVID, and the teachers have still been here because they couldn't travel. It's been very difficult for any community like this, not just ours, but all of them, right. To deal with those quiet, kind of silent problems, I think, that have been going on for a long time.
What are the differences of this school when we compare to the parent school in English, in UK?
Well, Wellington College Bangkok compared to Wellington College in England, the most obvious difference is we run from age 2 to age 18, so a whole through school. Wellington College in England is a senior school. It's been around for 160 years, we've been around for 3 years, but they go from age 14 to 18. Right. So a much more compressed school. It's also 90% boarding in England, and we don't currently do any boarding. So the environment in some ways is quite different, but what's been one of my favourite challenges really about opening this school and running it is bringing a senior school, boarding school philosophy and way of life into a junior school. We opened our school as a junior and then we moved through the senior school year by year. So we opened with the piece of the school that England doesn't even have. So making the junior school a real Wellington college with the same feeling, the same beliefs, the same approach to life and learning is really exciting thing to do. In terms of the difference between Bangkok and, I mean, not just a country in the West, but even somewhere like China, the expectations of our parents are not the same. Every country you go to, parents have slightly different expectations. The Thai parents that we have, are actually really, really supportive and positive about what we want to do, about what we're trying to do, about the kind of the progressive and innovative approach that we have to education. much more so than the parents perhaps in another country might be, and I won't identify countries, but I think we're very lucky to have such a progressive and thoughtful parent body, actually. That's really an exciting thing way down the line.
Chris, what do you actually expect your students to learn?
Well, I could talk to you about that for about 5 years. But
Let's talk about it. What do you really expect?
Right, curriculum is very important. People often talk about curriculum. We're a school, so of course they do. Our curriculum is the national curriculum for England, but basically most curriculums are pretty much the same. You know, mathematics is mathematics,
Sure.
right? Science is science. So yes, we want them to learn curriculum content. And curriculum content is knowledge, understanding, and skills. In the past, until very recently, knowledge used to be the key one of those three, because knowledge was rare. People didn't know stuff. It was difficult to find knowledge, it was difficult to find information. Today, knowledge is everywhere. We still work with knowledge a lot, but the skills and the understanding have become much more important because the knowledge is more freely available. And in order to use the knowledge, you have to have understanding. And you have to have a method for understanding things.
Sure.
And you have to have skills. And those skills are people skills and all sorts of different kinds of skills. So yes, we want our students to know a lot of stuff, but we need them to be people who can use that knowledge and work with it in a constructive way. Basically, that's what we're trying to get them to learn.
Let's talk about Harkness. What is it, Harkness? Actually, I try to find the definition of Harkness in type, but I can't find it. Actually.
Well, it's quite difficult to find it anywhere.
Harkness.
So Harkness is a method of teaching and learning which was developed at a school called Phillips Exeter, which is an extraordinarily good school in East Coast US. And it is discussion-based learning. Now, so the room that we're in at the moment is a Hotness Room. And the Hotness Room is designed with a large kind of oval style table in it.
Why oval?
The reason it's supposed to be oval is so that everybody can see everybody else.
All right.
If it was round, it would be best, but round takes up too much space. So oval is closer. It's halfway between round and square. But it's important that everybody can see and that it doesn't look as if there's a leader. You don't really need a leader person for everybody to look to in a Harkness situation. So Harkness is discussion-based learning. In order to do discussion-based work, you need to have something to discuss and something to say to add to the discussion. So the way that we do Harkness learning, particularly with younger students, because this wasn't developed for young students, it was developed for older senior school students. The way that we do it is we make sure that each student comes to the lesson with something prepared, ready to say, not the same as what everybody else is going to say. And therefore, thereby, the lesson, the discussion becomes a contribution from everybody to a subject, to a topic, and then thinking and working out what does that mean and coming to a conclusion.
Is there any teacher sitting there?
Yeah,
or sitting with them?
Actually, I mean, in the end, there doesn't really need to be, but yes, there is a teacher there. For a start, it takes a long time to develop the skills that you need to do effective discussion-based learning. Children aren't necessarily ready for it and certainly not used to it. And the teacher needs to monitor, needs to think, okay, this lesson went like that. That means I need to think, how do we develop, what skills do I need to develop next in order to bring them forward and forward and forward. So we start learning Harkness style when the students are around about 8 or 9 years old. But as I say, it's a skill development process. It doesn't work perfectly on day one. It takes a long time. I mean, most things take a lifetime to learn.
Sure.
And I guess this is one of them.
When we talk about things in a school, I imagine about that just studying, passing the exam. Why a student need ability to discuss? Why we need discussion?
Well, why do we need discussion? Why are we having a conversation?
Yeah.
I could just write some things down and you could, put them on paper. It doesn't work as well.
Sure.
A discussion is communication between human beings. And a school is a place where young people are becoming the adults that they will be in the future. Again, that's not an instant process, it takes a long time. So what kind of adult do you want your child to be? Do you want them to be an adult who can discuss things, who can take an equal part in a conversation, or not? If you don't care about that, then you probably don't need this kind of thing. If all you want your child to be is somebody who has some standardized knowledge and can go around doing what they're told, I don't think you need a Harkness at all. But that's not what we want for our students. I'm a parent as well. I never wanted that for my son. I want him to, from as early as possible, to be becoming the person that he's going to be. So the whole of life has to be in some way represented in school. Otherwise, we're not preparing our students for what's going to happen in the future.
Interesting. And could you share us what kind of topic that 8 or 9 years old students talk about?
Stuff out of their curriculum. So it's quite easy for them to do things like, relatively easy to do things like history, for example. So if you're doing a topic in history.
Talk about history?
Yeah. So there will, an event occurred at some point in history. In order to understand history, you need evidence, right? Otherwise, what have you got? You've got nothing. So if you can imagine a group of, let's say, 12 students sitting around this table, each of them has a different piece of evidence from the past. Put all that evidence together, you start to understand what really happened. If you just look at one piece of evidence, you don't get much information. So it's a great one for history because you're combining all the different bits of evidence, strong evidence, weak evidence. Do these two pieces of evidence match? Do they say the same thing? Can we understand something from looking at these things together or not? So learning. So the discussion allows you to understand what happened as a human being rather than just as a person who's looking at a list of events. So I think history is an easy one.
Really?
More interesting, I think, is something like science. Now, you don't really do scientific experiments around this table, but you can still work through your understanding of what could or couldn't happen, what is or isn't true, what could or couldn't be true, etc. In a very positive way if you discuss. What you really want the student, the young person, to develop is their own understanding of everything. That's really what learning is. It's developing your own version of the thing that works and is more or less true. So, and contributing to conversations allows you to develop your own understanding. Sitting and listening to somebody lecturing you, you might learn, you might not, but you're unlikely to develop your own personal kind of motivated understanding. So you input into the conversation, you input into the learning, you feel like it's your own learning. And that's a very powerful way to learn.
When we talk about school, we think about a place, teachers, students, facilities, but now it's quite different from the past. Do you really think that you are disrupted or any kind of that?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, everybody's been disrupted by this. There's no point in pretending. But I think what's kind of captured my excitement and therefore I guess the school's excitement is the difference. If we could choose, we wouldn't do remote learning, right? But we can't choose. there are some things, no matter what the age of the child, there are some things that work pretty well online. And there are some things, no matter what the age of the child, that really don't work very well. We know we won't be online forever, and it's taking too long, but it's not going to be forever.
Sure.
We have time after we return to campus, after things go back to something like normal. We have time. We don't have to panic. So what we have been looking to focus most on is what is working. What does online learning, what possibilities does it open up? And the things that don't work very well, let's just put them off. Let's wait. Let's do them when we're back in real life. There's no point in trying really hard and sweating and failing to do something which could easily be done, face to face. So, kind of picking the curriculum apart and putting, yes, this works online, into the lessons, and let's leave that for the moment out of the lessons. That's a really interesting way of looking again at what you teach and how you teach.
What's about the student experience? I mean, in terms of customer experience or something like that. How could you improve that? How could you say encourage the student to love to learn online during this time?
One of the things that we learned quite early on, and we've been doing this online thing now for a year and a half nearly. One of the things that we learned is it doesn't work the way you thought it was going to work. So Wellington College, we have some schools in China, and China locked down before Thailand did. So straight away, as soon as they locked down, we were in touch with them saying, how does it work? What's working? How are you doing it? How are you doing remote learning? Because we knew it would happen eventually. So we took all the advice we could from our friends in Shanghai and so forth. And it was very good advice. It was very professional, very good schools. And then we trained all of our teachers because we knew that we were going to go online in the end. We trained very carefully, we prepared very carefully, and we set up a very good system, I think. But a week after we started, we're looking at it going, this isn't working the way they said it was going to work in China, because everywhere's different. People are different, children are different, parents are different. So it was good, but we knew that we had to change some things. And again, I really enjoy the process of, I guess some of my teachers will be annoyed by me saying this, but I really enjoy the process of seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and then changing as necessary. Because you want things to work as well as they can. So we have been constantly going back to teachers, what's working, what's not working. Children, what's working, what's not working. Parents, we have what do you call them? Focus groups of parents coming in to talk to teachers for us to find out what's the most difficult thing for you as a parent about this. What can we do to help? What do you think we should be doing more of or less of? And we never stop trying to make it better. There's no perfect solution, and different ages of children have different problems. And even now, though we don't want to go back to remote, we think we might have to at some stage. So we are still now preparing new developments, new ways of doing things in order to make sure that we are always getting better and better at it.
What is your, current purpose of life? Is it still the same as the, the purpose on the day one that you started school? Has it been changed or any adjusted?
No, the big purpose hasn't changed. I don't see how it could, because the big purpose, the basic purpose, is to, this is going to sound very pompous, I apologise, but the purpose of any school, I think, has to be to make the world a better place in some way by encouraging the students who come to the school to become great positive members of society. And how could I change that? That's the purpose of being here. And our method is very elaborate, but that's what we're trying to do. I want to make the world better. And the way to do that is to be the best possible school you can be for the individual students who are in the school.
Right. Wow. That wows me. And thank you very much, Kun Chris. Thank you for having time with me. ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for visiting us.
ครับนี่แหละครับก็คือครูใหญ่ของทางโรงเรียนเวลลิงตันนะครับที่นี่ที่กรุงเทพกรีฑาแล้วก็เชื่อว่าน่าจะสร้างแรงบันดาลใจจุดประกายให้กับใครหลายๆคนนะครับที่อยากจะรู้จักมุมมองของการบริหารงานของโรงเรียนอินเตอร์โรงเรียนที่มีเด็กคุณภาพดีๆแบบนี้สิ่งแวดล้อมดีๆแบบนี้มากยิ่งขึ้นนะครับเดี๋ยวเจอกันใหม่คลิปหน้านะครับสวัสดีครับ